where Death Grips looks at fear from a paranoid, schizophrenic, and turn away, Lovecraft looks at fear from an external perspective. Fear for him, the worst kind of fear, was that of the unknown, what we do not understand and can't really grasp. Throughout his mythos, we see brilliant men come into contact with mysterious forces that leave them completely petrified, harmed, or even killed. There is a desire to know more, and that curiosity is what leads to their downfall. In the Lovecraft universe, there are these things called the Old Ones. They are otherworldly beings or gods that landed on Earth millions upon millions of years ago and established vast, ancient cities of wonders and so much more. Many of them eventually die, but not really. As it is said in the ballad of the mad Arabic poet Abdul el-Hazret, that is not dead which eternal lie. And with strange eons, even death may die. These beings sit in waiting, sleeping for millions and millions of years, waiting for their time to return to the world so that they can take control once again. The Old Ones are many, and they contain mysterious powers that are far beyond human comprehension. Throughout many of the Lovecraftian stories, there are characters who come across these beings, sometimes by chance, other times purposely, and other times a combination of the two. In the call, a group of sailors hailing from Auckland, New Zealand, come across a heavily armed yacht crewed by a group of particularly vicious men. They are attacked by them and end up in a fight, and that fight they end up winning, but in the process lose a few of their men, after which they board the other ship only to discover strange altars and a small squid-like statue, amongst other things. They eventually leave with the yacht, as theirs was heavily damaged in the fight, sail for a while until they come across a small island in a place where they could have sworn had no islands. They land on the island and begin exploring the city that's there. A city so vast, foreign, ancient, and strange. Everything is like that, and beyond their understanding. As they walk and examine the stones, they see it is greenish in color and has strange markings. They eventually make it to an unusually large door. A door so large it dwarfs anything they know. As they are examining it, it begins to open. They hear a strange slurping sound from the bottom. And then a large beast starts to come out of that door. The thing is so terrifying and menacing that 3 men are said to have died of pure fright, while 2 others are pulled in by the thing itself. The sailors had, unbeknownst to them, discovered the ancient city of CRYO and had awoken the great old deity. Only 2 men make it out alive and get back to the yacht. Of the 2 men, 1 goes mad and later on dies on the boat. The other sailor is eventually found but would later die too. Most likely killed by the cult who worships. In another story, The Nameless City, the main protagonist comes across an ancient city in the Arabian Peninsula, which had existed long before any human civilization. In it, the protagonist begins to excavate and explore the city. Strangely, as he goes into old buildings, he has to kneel or even crawl due to how low the ceilings are built.
He examines one building and goes further and further underground to find strange, alien-like beings that seem to be a mix of a crocodile, a seal, and many other things, and is oddly shaped and small. He sees on the walls fantastic hieroglyphs and paintings that show the city in its prime and how it once looked. He also sees nothing that mentions death, such as funerals, as if the beings were immortal. And he sees one disturbing picture of a primitive man being torn to pieces by the ancient beings. He then goes further to unearth some monstrous demon by accident as he prods too deep in a long eon dead city of things that existed and thrived long ago. The whole ordeal leaves him troubled and scarred from the experience for the rest of his life. One last story we can look at is the Mountains of Madness, where a group of explorers go to Antarctica for academic purposes. They go there to further their knowledge on the continent so far as geology, biology, and other academic disciplines are concerned. After weeks of excavation, they eventually discover a few rocks which have strange patterns that fascinates and excites one of the explorers, who's known as Professor Lake. Lake takes a company of men, planes, sleds, and dogs with him to explore further, and they eventually discover large mountains that dwarf anything on Earth. The whole scene is like a dream to them, and it is almost unbelievable. They end up setting a small base there, and through the use of explosions, accidentally open up a hole in one of the mountains. As they go further in, they uncover a large bone cemetery of ancient animals and dinosaurs that had been there between 30 million to 100,000 million years old. As they pry further into the tunnel, they find these strange beings with star-shaped heads and skin with a leathery feel. These prehistoric beings are taken out, and Lake begins to dissect one of them, which is not an easy task. He sends reports back to the main group, and everyone is ecstatic at first, happy that they have found something so monumental and amazing, and that will undoubtedly shake the scientific community. On the next day, though, a crazy storm hits the base, and they are frightened for Lake and his party, wondering how much worse it is for them. They try to radio him over and over and over again, but get nothing back. After a long time of waiting and hearing nothing, they resolve to look for the party and see just what was going on. Or even worse, what had happened. When they get there, what they see can only be described as the most insane of horrors. All the dogs and all the men were mutilated and slaughtered horribly. And one of the members of the party, as well as one of the dogs, is missing. They pry further and see that the badly injured specimens that were discovered were buried underneath a star-shaped mound, and of the specimens that were in better shape were gone. The remaining party goes on to explore further into the mountains, seeing many of what Lake had talked about. They eventually go further than he did and end up discovering an ancient city. There they explore and are amazed at how advanced it must have been and the largeness of the city itself. As they pry further, they end up discovering a horrible monster. And as they escape it, one of them sees something in the mountains that makes him go unalterably insane.
In all of these stories, the men come into contact with something that is otherworldly. Something that fills them all with great dread and fear, as many of them venture on into the unknown, being pulled in by their curiosity. They feel a great sense of dread and foreboding, and many of them by the end of their journey either end up scarred, insane, severely damaged, and or dead. What Lovecraft gets at is cosmic fear. Fear of something unknown and great. The feeling one gets when they realize that they are insignificant in the face of something much larger, much more ancient, and much more powerful than they. The old ones come from space, and it is said in the Necronomicon that they started life on Earth by accident or some form of carelessness. These great powerful beings built cities that existed for millions of years and that dwarf anything man has ever done. Their mere existence throws everything mankind knows about itself and the world irrelevant and mute. Humans would need to start all over again, and in nearly every field of knowledge, if these things were made known to the public. And the worst part is, the old ones aren't even the worst or the most threatening. As frightening and insanely dizzying their existence is, there is still something greater out there that we know nothing about. To even try to wrap one's head around it will make you go mad, as many of the protagonists do, and some of them we never even get to fully see. Just a result of what happens to someone who does see them. That part of unknowing sends our brain into an anxious mode that is beyond our control. It harkens back to our primitive age, when what we did not know or understand oftentimes killed us. Through the centuries and eons, we've evolved to be wary of what we don't understand or grasp, or what seems alien to us. These natural prejudices is what has grown into more horrible prejudices, and is the reason for racism, xenophobia, and the countless wars between nations and religions that sprout because of such things. Funny enough, this was something that Lovecraft fell ill to himself, at least for some parts of his life. Lovecraft was known as a raging racist and xenophobic man, largely due to his toxic upbringing and harmful, sheltered life. It's this type of fear that influenced his writing, along with his long years of reading and mastering classic literature, that allowed him to write such masterful and frightening beings that take us to something and some place we wish we never went to. As Lovecraft puts it himself, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. This is one side of fear, fear of the unknown, and Death Grips explores the other side of fear, and terror that comes out of the individual from the environment around him, but more specifically, within themselves, as well as the ramifications of such fears. Both Lovecraft and Death Grips explore the emotion of fear in interesting and nuanced ways that shed light on this ancient, primeval emotion. And by shedding light on this emotion, we can better understand it. And in that understanding, we can eliminate that fear of the unknown, which in this case is fear itself. By doing so, we better control it and don't allow it to take hold of us and cause us to do things that we would regret. In looking at these two sides of fear, the paranoid, schizophrenic side and the side that grows out of a lack of knowledge of the part of the world we do not yet know, we can see what fear really is. It is a necessary instinct designed to help us survive, but if left unchecked, it can grow and fester upon itself, causing great pains. And we ourselves are catalysts to such a feeling at that point. Fear can also be an instinct to protect us from the unknown and the too great. Even though we humans are curious and desire to know more, perhaps sometimes there are things we are not meant to know. And if it is time, we must approach such things with carefulness, so as not to stumble upon a light that our eyes are not accustomed to, and in the process, ruin our vision. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos and analyses just like this. If you see what I'm seeing, or not, let me know in the comment section, and why. Thank you, and have a good day.